Good evening, everybody, and welcome along to PSGL Season 26. This is the opening round of the season, and we go home to the home of the Red Bull Ring in Spielberg for the Austrian Grand Prix. My name is Jess, one of your PSGL F2 commentators for this season, and joining me in the commentary box, we have V8 Field, also known as Dan. How are you doing today?
I'm doing all right, Jess. It's great to be here for the start of Season 26 of F2. We've got such a great grid here. They're all just readying up, so we're going to get underway very shortly.
Yes, indeed. Obviously, last week we had the pre-season race, and for most of these guys, it gave them a flavour of how to race with each other, and it was the first time some of the guys raced each other as well, so it was great to see. So whilst we wait to get into the qualifying session, I'll just run you through the lineup just in case you missed last week's pre-season race. In the Mercedes, we've got the big man himself, Connor, Big C. Alongside him is Midnight. Then we've got CC Brain and Greeny LFC in the Ferrari. We have Name Changer in the Red Bull, and Gonanen is back in the Red Bull. He couldn't make last week, but he's here tonight, which is good. We got VRT Luke and Pablo Jogler in the McLaren. We have Lakitu and BRT Faz in the Renault. We have the Confessor and Little Blocks in the Alfa Romeo. Little Blocks is back tonight as well. We have IGK Pat and Kurax 2808 in the Racing Point. We have Josh and Skivan in the Alpha Tauri, but Josh can't make it tonight. So we have got Will, Season 23 F2 champion in the Alpha Tauri instead of him. We have Benny Skim and Hadler in the Haas. And then we got last week's race winner, Rafa, in the Williams alongside Toxic Tomato. And it looks quite overcast here in Austria. And it could make it for an interesting race, I think.
Absolutely. The tyres, the track temperatures are going to be a lot different. Very different running conditions in the heavy clouds up ahead. But it also could maybe hint at some rain in this qualifying session. So drivers might want to get out as soon as possible. You don't know the conditions to the exact moment, but they'll be out soon, and maybe we can see some rain in the session.
Well, we didn't see some rain last week. Hopefully we could see it this week, but knowing F2, we do get rain time and time again, so we'll have to wait and see. Everyone has gone on the soft compounded tyres, which is the C4s this weekend. The mediums is the C3s, and the hards, which is the C2s. So it is a simple one-stop strategy around this track. No hards are going to be used around this circuit today, unless they bottle it or have any damage or stuff like that. But don't expect it to be easier than last season's Austria race. I mean, you know, the medium tyres, they could take quite a beating, and the softs don't last as long either. But you should still make it last as long as you have a setup which could handle the tyre wear and tyre temperatures as well.
Well, you really do have to be careful with tyres on this game. It's a lot more critical than on 2019, I think. If you're going at maximum pace over a lap, you're gaining about 4% on the medium tyres. So depending on how they manage their soft stint, we could see one stop from the soft to the medium, or we could even see soft to the hard if they're not careful enough.
Yep, as we're running on board with Greeny LFC in the Ferrari, who was almost close to pipping Rafa in the pre-season race last week. He did really well. He qualified on the front row as well, which is great to see. He now approaches turn 4. Now, just to note that this track has been set to midday in the game. This is the only track that is a change of time due to the fact turn 1 you can get absolutely blinded on official. So the guys can thank the coordinators for that one. As Greeny's on purple sector 2, but he's one of the first people on the lap. As Toxic Tomato moves out of the way, going in past turn 7 and 8. These next set of corners is quite common to invalidate your lap, and that was close from Greeny actually to invalidate, but luckily he got it just right as he comes across the line now, and it's a 102.7. Not a bad lap time already. I was just about to say pole time expected to be in the early 103s to late 102s, but Greeny's just smashed it already.
Well, a 2.7 is a great banker to put yourself on for later in the session. We've got Luke also putting in a lap of 103 dead, so He's going to want to be a little bit closer to Greeny if he wants to compete with them. 3/10 separating the two drivers who are put in laps right now. I'm not too sure who's on a lap right now. I believe that Lickle Blocks has just began one. So I don't know. He's invalidated at the exit of turn 1, actually. So
yeah, that's another common place to invalidate. But luckily they won't get blinded in the sun, so they should be able to see their braking zone. And luckily they don't have any racing line, because usually the racing line usually hinders those types of things as well. But he doesn't have that many tyres to use, Lickle Blocks, so he has to probably go into the pits and get in a lap in very quickly, especially if it's going to get darker as well. We've got Toxic Tomato coming across the line now, and he sets pole by 2/10 already. 102.5 is his teammate Rafa is in the pits. We've got Will about to cross the line, but he is invalidated as well. Quite a lot of people invalidate, as it seems Pat is about to start a lap as well. And I just got to say, the few overtaking opportunities, turn 1, usually people overtake there, but it's not quite common. But I would say turn 3, turn 2 heading into turn 3, and turn 4 potentially overtaking sport. And some people could try the move into turn 6 as well. But if you make that move stick, then that's probably one of the greatest moves of the races so far. So, and since the points are so close, every point counts in this league.
absolutely, a position could mean everything throughout the course of a season. So you want to be you have to keep your wits about you. I do say that quite a lot, but it is true, especially with the high caliber grid. Everyone's going to be so close, and it's interesting. We've gone 6 minutes and only 6 drivers have put in laps, so they're either waiting a little bit, maybe for the clouds to clear, or maybe they're all struggling with the track limits. Here comes Pat across the line, and that's a 103.2, so he goes splitting the McLarens of Luke and Pablo. So only 7 drivers putting in a lap right now.
Yeah, the gap at the moment is about 2/10, but the gap between Greeny and Skivan is quite something as well, about a few hundredths of a second separating them, which is impressive. But Austria, I spoke about this last week in the pre-season race. It's one of the tracks on the game which is like USA. It's like Russia. If you get a penalty there, you're more than likely going to get one. And it's more stricter on this game than previous games around Austria, really, to be honest, to get right. And a lot of people in the chat earlier on Twitter were getting a bit worried about getting penalties. I wouldn't be surprised if almost everyone gets penalties on the track tonight. But again, penalties make a difference on when you finish as well. We saw that in the Australia race, pre-season race last week. But with Austria, it's going to be more than anything. They just got to keep their wits about, like you said. As Faz goes purple sector 2, he's looking like a good lap. And as I said about corner cutting, he's invalidated.
Well, on the exit of, I'm not too sure what corner number it is. I think it's turn 7 maybe, but I've no clue. But it's really easy to do it on exit there. Where on the last game you could have completely went over that curb. You can hardly do it on this game. So a lot of drivers being caught out with that. Here's the man that won last race, and it's Rafa, and he's invalidated. So again, all these drivers really struggling to keep it within track limits.
Indeed, and they haven't got long to go, of course. And I've noticed something, the track is starting to brighten up, so no threat of rain in this qualifying session. So the tyres at the top 10 will start on. They'll be the tyres that they will be qualifying on in the race. But again, we don't know what the weather is, but we would like to be surprised. I'm not going to ask any of them to tell them the weather, but we'll have to wait and see. Of course, Big C is he's about to start his lap, and so is Midnight as well. And speaking of teammates, just a quick reminder as well, they're not allowed to use Slipstream this season. That is banned, because obviously if your teammate's not here, you're going to have a huge disadvantage, and you gain quite a few temps just from your teammate's Slipstream in qualifying. Obviously, you're allowed it in the race, but not qualifying. And if we see it as commentators, or if someone in the lobby sees that teammates are potentially slipstreaming each other on purpose, and they will get a time penalty for that. And there's quite a few other rules that have been changed this season as well, which we'll go into in a minute, as Midnight's about to start his lap. Can Rafa get a better lap this time? He invalidated last time. Only second though, 0.8 of a second slower than his teammate Toxic Tomato.
Well, the two Williams tipped to be Constructors champions. They're doing quite strong so far in this qualifying session. There goes Toxic Tomato improving once more. So
Wow.
those two really controlling the session at the moment. They're 2 tenths clear of anyone else behind them, that being Greeny LFC, who also impressed in the pre-season race. I believe Toxic Tomato actually didn't finish that race after he spun out under safety car. So he's got a bit of vengeance to be sought after. And he's going to want to prove himself, as we're seeing more laps coming out now.
Yeah, I would predicted last week that it's going to be a close qualifying in Austria. It already is already. And if those times are anything to go by, just watch out for F1 later. I think time's going to be even closer in F1. F1's at 8 p.m, by the way, for those of you that want to watch that. A little cheeky plug there. We'll see if that is probably pretty much the same or even quicker than F2, because these two grids are pretty much almost on par with each other. Obviously, F1 is no assist. F2 is just line only, and you know, I mean, it does depend. Some of these guys could go into F1 on their day, but sometimes they're just not quick enough than the other guys. But we shall see. We have the most competitive grids on PS4 right now, and they are definitely showing it right now. Golinen in the Red Bull is one of those guys not to set a lap yet. Faz, who did really well last week, he's just gone into the pits and invalidated. Big C's teammate Midnight as well is going out. He finished 8th last week. I think he was hoping for something better, but him being in a lower tier than obviously last season he was in F1, maybe it's his time to shine, and maybe the Mercedes could challenge the Williams drivers. Big C actually finished 3rd in Australia, and Midnight scored points as well, so that could be a huge threat as Midnight comes across the line and he invalidated in turn 10.
Well, that time would have been enough to put him 2nd on the grid on the front row, so he's going to be kicking himself at that one. He's still got time to come in, fit a new set of tyres and go out once more. That does prove that he has got the pace to compete with the top guys in F2, but I would not be happy if I were Midnight in invalidating on the last corner.
Because you just work on a lap for pretty much nearly a whole minute, because obviously it's the shortest lap on the calendar, and then when you mess up just like that, then it could cost you. And Golinen has done exactly that. He's done exactly the same as what Midnight has done. I think that's his 2nd invalidated lap in a row. So that is a shame. Nikitu's invalidated too, another person not to set a lap time yet. That is not going to be good. And Midnight's just invalidated again. But he's run out of fuel anyway, so he's going to go into the pits. I think this track is proving to be a lot more difficult in getting your laps in than ever. And most people might be doing a one-shot quali here.
Well, if you're leaving it that late and fitting only one run in, you're really going to be feeling the pressure at that moment, because you know you haven't got any more opportunities. So these guys are really going to have to start getting a move on, put in a lap, and otherwise they could be starting right at the back and have really no chance of scoring decent points.
Yeah, and just to go through the points while everyone is going into the pit to set their final few laps, if I just get it up on my screen. There we go. So first place in each race gets 16 points, second place gets 12 points, third place gets 10 points, fourth place gets 8 points, fifth place gets 6 points, and then it's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 point down to 10th place. And there's an extra incentive as well. Brutal Democracy is providing all the prizes for the top 3 tiers this season, which is very, very kind of them actually. So thank you to them. They're sponsoring PSGL again this season. And obviously F1 tier, they get £120 for the winner, second place £50, third place £30. But for F2, they still get some money too. First place is a whopping £30. So they get exactly the same money as what third place does in F1. So, you know, that is going to make the grid even more competitive if money is involved.
Absolutely. So kind of BDG to be providing us with that extra incentive for the drivers. Going to make sure that they are all competing and practicing so that they can be as quick as they can, because they're going to want that money.
Yeah, I definitely want that money, but obviously if I was competing in PSGL, I would be lower down the grid anyway, or probably in F11s or something. So that is something for these guys to think about. They wanted to be in the top few leagues, and here they are with 4 minutes to go in the first race of the season. And I think Faz just set a lap, so he's got his time on the board, so good for him. We got Odems as well, a PSGL F1 veteran, and Toxic Tomato has just gone fastest yet again with a 102.321. I haven't seen anyone go that high before. That is absolutely insane. Could we see go into the 102.2s, 102.1s, or even 102.0s? The track is evolving every minute right now, and it's getting absolutely hot around here, just like in real life. These drivers must be roasting, but at least they're getting a feel of what the track temperatures were in Austria last year. They were insanely hot, and it didn't help the Mercedes very well. That's why Max Verstappen won last season. Gonen's about to start a lap. Is there anyone about to cross the line to complete a lap? Nope, they are not. They're all going into the pits for their final lap. Toxic Tomato needs to get a move on though, but I'm sure you'll get into the pits in time.
The social media personality, the Confessor, or some know him as Odems, he once again invalidated on a lap that he was doing previously. He's not pushing this time by, so it's once again another missed opportunity for that Alfa Romeo car. Alfa Romeo not looking too strong right now. Liquor Blocks presumably made a mistake on his lap. He's 8 tenths back from the closest car to him. He's on a 104.0, so he's not going to be happy with that one. I believe the only driver on a lap right now is Gonanen in that Red Bull. He's also been struggling with the track limits coming through the middle. He's invalidated it again.
He was purple sector 2 as well.
Purple. Yeah.
That is very dangerous. If I was him, he has time to go into the pits, but if it was a track like Britain and Belgium, where obviously Britain has a pit lane so long towards the pit exit, whereas Belgium has a long lap, if you don't go out very quickly in those tracks, you're pretty much done. But luckily, Gonanen is very lucky. Hopefully, his pit crew will get his car worked on very quickly so he can go out again for one more time, because he'll have a danger starting 18, which is not good. But Liquor Blocks does have another chance as well. He's on his out lap. Everyone is going out again. You want to be one of the last people to set a lap time, because the last person to set a lap time is usually where the track is at its best. So I wonder who is going to be the last to set a lap time. We'll have to wait and see, of course. But 2 minutes left to go. Who's going to be on pole for the first race of the F2 season?
Well, Midnight put in a valiant effort. He got himself onto the front row there just now, but unfortunately he's still 2 tenths off of Toxic Tomato. He's really controlling this session. The experienced Williams driver, he was F1 last season. He's only made it into F2 this season, but in season 24 he won F2, so he's got experience in this division and he's really controlling the pace here.
Yeah, he is, and we said good things about Toxic Tomato last week and he binned it, so hopefully he won't do the same this week, but he feels a little bit more confident about Austria. He's gonna hope he doesn't get any penalties like some people anyway. I think that's what a majority of these people are gonna get as well, but there's a few people that have been setting validated laps every lap, so fair play to these guys. And it's not long before Toxic Tomatoes is in the 102, so I wonder how much he needs to find in one of the sectors in order to get into that range, into that margin. I mean, you know, if a Williams pair is 1 and 3, that's going to help. As Midnight has retired, I'm guessing he either invalidated or he retired in the pits, or he had a bit of an off. No, he retired in the pits, so I'm guessing he couldn't improve, which I'm a bit shocked about actually. But he may have run out of fuel potentially as well. As Greeny LFC is coming across the line now. He's either about to start a lap or he's about to finish a lap. But let's see if he can go any higher than where he was. He's 3/100 better than his previous best, but that puts him in 5th place as CC Brain improves up to 4th place. We could see some team rivalries with Ferrari. Hopefully they do better than the ones in real life.
Well, Ferrari not the most lucky in terms of their results, and of course they've not been the strongest of teams, but I'm just looking at the Haas car of Benny. I don't think he's going to be able to get round here. He's invalidated on this run. He's got 3 seconds to go before the checkered flag waves, and has he made it? No, he's not made it, so Benny can't put in a lap here today, and he's going to be starting from at most 18th position. And luckily for Gonanen, he hasn't invalidated on this run finally.
Yet. yet. Please, I swear to God that he does not invalidate. He needs to take this, well, he needs to push, and he does turn absolutely fine this time as Pat can't improve, Greeny can't improve, and Skivan can't improve. Has gone and moves himself up to 14th place as Liquid Blocks also managed to get in a lap as well. CT Brain can't improve, Toxic can't improve either. I think it's up to either Big C, Faz, Lakitu, Kurax and Will. Those are the only ones out on the lap at this stage. Who's going to be the first? No, Faz has invalidated his lap. Will can't improve, so yeah, it's just Big C right now. Can he be the one to stop the Williams Thunder here today in Austria? Let's see, he comes across the line. What is it going to be? P8 at the moment, and that is your qualifying done as Faz is in the pits. But by 1/10 of a second, Toxic Tomato just beats his teammate, and it is a Williams 1-2. Who would have thought it?
Well, it's certainly equal performance here today, because if this was realistic cars, those Williams would not be taking a 1-2 on the grid. Whilst we weren't watching, of course, Rafa did move ahead of Midnight, and I just want to comment, 7th through to 13th. That's fitting 13 drivers. They were separated, not 13, 7 drivers into a 10th.
That's crazy. From 1st to 14th, it's half a second. That is incredible. Well done to these guys. I'm sure it's going to be a very close race. Good job on Odems there. Odems was near the back of the field, didn't get set a lap, and in the very last moment, he did what he needed to do, and he made himself up into 5th place. So great job on him. So let's run through the order. Toxic Tomato, Rafa, then Midnight, CC Brain, Odems, Greeny, Luke, Big C, Skivan, Hadler rounds up your top 10. And we got Pat, Lakitu, Jogler, Fads, Gonan, Kurax, Name Changer, Will, Lickle Blocks, and Benny Skim. Benny Skim, the only driver not to set a lap time. And the top 18 separated by a second, with only 2 drivers not getting within that range. But I've got to say, I was not expecting that today this early on, but it is Austria, for goodness sake. It's probably going to be closer in autos. And it's raining!
Yeah, oh. That's going to throw a spanner in the works. We might be seeing some drivers who are further down the grid running a wet setup, because, of course, you're not going to get the same pace on a dry setup on a wet track. So maybe some guys were sacrificing that grid position so that they could get onto a wet setup and use that in the race and make up positions. That could also spell some worry for the Williams cars, because I have a theory now that they weren't using a wet setup and they're going to be struggling in the race.
Yeah, I think so as well. I'm a bit worried for them, but it is a danger of deciding what setup to go for, especially if it's either changeable conditions or if it's dry in one session and wet in another. It is tricky, but if I was them, I would do the setup based on what it's going to be in the race. And unless things change, it's probably going to be rain for most of the race. But you never know. It could start to dry up halfway through as well. But from what I've gathered, it's going to be wet for the entire race. So, and I do see inters in the garage. So there's going to be intermediate conditions. Unless there's dry tyres, though. It's not the first time we've seen that happen in PSGL. And speaking of that, everyone's on the softs. In the wet conditions. Now that is going to be tricky for the drivers. And did I just jinx that there? That is crazy, but I wouldn't want to be in the cockpit right now because it's going to be so hard at this moment in time.
Do not rub your eyes. You are seeing slick tyres on a damp track, and these guys are going to be struggling for so much grip. I'm on board with Toxic Tomato. Look at how he's spinning the wheels. And he's almost spinning out on the formation lap. I wouldn't be surprised if we see someone spin out. And just as I say that, VRT Luke in 7th position. He had a spin coming out of turn number 3. So that could spell disaster for everyone in the race. I'm not sure why the game has put them on softs. I assume they weren't allowed to go on to the intermediates. The Codemasters outdone themselves here.
It was like that in the last game as well, in Hungary, in a race I commentated it was basically raining the whole race, but not enough to go onto the intermediate tyres, which was quite weird. But that is something that happens once in a blue moon, and we're getting that today, I must say. So it's either that the rain is going to come heavier, or it's going to get drier. I don't know, but we're not the weatherman. The driver's not the weatherman, even though it says when it's either going to clear up or stay as it is, but the game may throw a spanner in the works. So these drivers have got to be alert at this moment in time, and these Williams have got to get a good start. I've already seen a few drivers disqualified from the formation. Now that's Faz and Kurax. I think those are the only two that got disqualified. Everyone else has keep their cool and not cause any trouble, so that is good news. And I was about to ask for your predictions, but a lot of people are going on to their grid position, so I'm not going to bother doing that. But I'm going to say I think it's going to be Rafa. I think Rafa's going to win this. He started second last week, or third, first, I can't remember, and he went on to win the race. So I wonder if he's going to do exactly the same from P2, or will there be team orders in the Williams garage? We'll have to wait and see, as everyone's on the grid. And, oh, there we go. We're about to get started. The 5 red lights are on here in Spielberg. And we are underway. And it looks like a pretty even start from both the Williams pair at the moment. And we're seeing a good start from one of the Ferraris as well, as he tries to cover off the Alfa Romeo behind as well. But as you can see, the conditions are proving it a lot difficult for them to go past turn 1. But look at Midnight, though, right in the middle of these guys heading towards up the hill, the king from turn 2 into turn 3. Can he make the jump on those Williams drivers? No, he cannot. Both the Ferrari drivers doing well. I think it was Greeny that made up a place off the start as well. But we've seen, I think, both the Renaults and the McLarens having a bit of an issue. Vaz has dropped all the way down into last place. I don't think he's got damage though, and we've got Name Changer trying to make a move past the Alfa Romeo into turn 4. It's going to be hard in these wet conditions, but he's staying behind for now. All that Renault got a little bit too close, but it's Toxic Tomato that leads from that one.
Well, it looked like that Rafa was actually ahead coming into turn number 1, or he was challenging, and he certainly tried to make a move through the first corner. Both Faz and Kurax losing positions off the start. Faz losing 6. So the cold tyres really proving to be detrimental to their pace early on in the race. Of course, now they're going to start to come up to heat as we begin lap number 2.
Yep, indeed. Obviously, no DRS is enabled just yet. It's enabled in lap 2. So that is lap 3, sorry. So that should be interesting to know. Actually, no, it's enabled now. 2 laps have happened already, apparently. But I don't think it has. It might be just the game glitching, or the few laps have just gone quickly like that. So sorry if the timings go on your screen. It's just a refresh bug that Cody's have on this game. So luckily, it's back to normal. As we've got one of the Renaults of Lakita and the McLaren of Pablo having a bit of battle. Lakita having more grip than Pablo, and he says thank you very much, as Hulkenberg would like to say, and he gets the job done. 2 places more and he would be in the points.
Well, he's got the 7-time PSGL F1 champion up ahead of him, who's lost 3 positions off the start. Big C, of course, the F1 director of BDG and the PSGL league director. So he's struggling earlier on. Lakitu's going to want to get past him as soon as possible and catch up to Hadler, because there seems to be a little bit of a rift before forming between the top 10 and then the bottom 10. So, yeah. Lakitu's maybe going to want to try and get a move on.
Yep, he does, but he's only about 4 attempts now, and already Toxic Tomato has broken out of DRS range of Rafa. So that is good news if you're Toxic Tomato, but if you're the likes of Rafa or Midnight, who's already out of DRS range, that is not where you want to be. CC Brain, he's going to be happy that Midnight doesn't have any DRS. He could use his overtake, save his DRS, and try and get past him into turn 4, but he's not that close enough to get the move, so he's going to have to wait for a few more moments before he can get that edge on him at this stage. The biggest gainers so far, as Luke almost lost it there as well. So I think we've got one of the Alfa Romeos, that's Odem's, trying to go for a move into turn 5 and 6. Odem's almost going off the track there, but he kept his cool at the moment, and he's down 2 positions, so he's looking to make up some ground from where he started.
Well, he might have got a warning from going off the track there just on exit of turn number 5, so he's going to want to be careful. Later on, we've got a spinner, I think, or just a yellow flag showing for no reason. Of course, we had the glitch last time out in Australia for the pre-season race where the entire track was yellow flags for us. So that was a bit strange. Luckily, they've gone away. It looks like no one has spun around there. As I say that, a half spin from Pat there. He saves it miraculously coming out of turn number 1. Now he's got Big C putting pressure on him. Is he going to try and go around the outside into turn number 3? Not quite. There's maybe been a bit of pushing there from Lakitu as they're all getting a bit clumsy in the midfield.
Yeah, they are as well, but there's also stuff happening in the top half as well, as CC Brain almost tried to make a move past Midnight as well into turn 4, but he couldn't quite get it done as well. He was closer this lap than last lap. He knows that he's quicker in the wet than Midnight at this stage, but these guys are still driving absolutely incredible already, and I don't think we've had any pit stops so far. No, we have not. Everyone is keeping it on the track as we've got more time penalties. Kurats has got one in the racing point. That's a little bit of a shame right now, but CC Brain is at a perfect opportunity for attempts, but Midnight has got a perfect straight line speed. I think his setup is more geared towards that. That's going to help him into turn 1, but again, I don't think CC Brain is going to go for the move for that, so his second chance is going to be turn 3. His DRS is activated. Overtake is on. His ERS is perfectly fine at the moment as they go up the hill. Is he going to try and go for the lunge? No, not quite. There's quite a few people trying to go for the lunge here as well. We've got Lakitu on Big C again.
Well, these guys do have to be careful because it's a marathon, not a sprint. You have to go as long as you can into the race. And if you go for too many clumsy moves or just half. Oh, I think Luke might have went into the back of Greeny there. It looked like they were both sliding on exit of turn 4. It doesn't look like Luke's got any damage to that front wing. So again, as I said, these guys really do need to be careful here, especially in the wet conditions. Under braking, there's going to be less grip and you're going to be having to brake earlier. So Luke got away with it there.
Yeah, that was a lucky bunny, he was, but that's not going to do his tyres any good. He may have to pit earlier than everybody else, of course, and these drivers have been warned by the stewards today that they can't do any dummies going into the pit lane. Once they commit to the pit lane entry line, then they have to go into the pit. If we see them do the dummy, or if anyone catches people doing the dummy, then they get a penalty point, just like with the slipstream in qualifying.
Confessor's gone into AI mode here as he's been overtaken by Hadler, Given and Pat now around the outside. So I'm not sure what's happened to Confessor here, but now he's tumbling down the order. Big C now moves into the top 10. Here goes CC Brain on Midnight. Has he got the move through turn number 4 there, side by side on exit? Mercedes and Ferrari, and there it is. CC Brain moves into the podium position, but look at how much time they have lost to the leaders.
Yeah, not that much at all, actually. And hold on a second. I'm having issues with some reason. Oh, there we go. We are back to normal. I was meant to press something else to turn the volume down, but something else happened instead. So apologies about that. But yeah, nothing much has changed with the positions anyway. So we're all good. But Toxic Tomato, we haven't talked about him much all race. He is on fire at this moment in time. 1.9 seconds. The advantage is obviously not dominant, but at least he's keeping his teammate Rafa behind. Rafa just not finding the pace enough to catch to his teammate. So maybe Toxic Tomato is liking these mixed conditions, and you know, maybe he could be the favourite. You never know, but Toxic Tomato could be a threat to maybe getting penalties. So that maybe might help Rafa, who I know Rafa is a lot cleaner in terms of penalties. Here we go. We got Lakitu and Big C once again on a move, and Big C's on the charge. They keep switching positions, but I've got to say I'm loving these battles between these two at the moment, going towards turn 4, but Big C is staying behind at this stage at the moment. And we've also got, I think we had another spinner, actually no we've not, it's going to be 2 wide going into turn 5. We've got Kurats and Will, the former season 23 F2 champion. He's going to go for the move into turn 6 and 7. Can he do it? Brilliant stuff from Will, nicely controlled, and there we go. He's up into 14th place. I thought there wasn't going to be any moves there.
Confessor's gone.
Oh, Confessor's spun, okay. He's spun into, turn 7. Turn 7 is where he's gone off. That is a bit of a shame, but I've got to say well done to Will on that move. And Kurats is going into the pits a bit earlier than I would have thought he was going to go to. I wonder if he's going to go for the undercut, or would he be trying for the two-stop strategy, because it's going to be a lot harder to control these temperatures in these mixed conditions.
He actually got a bit of wing damage to his end plate, so he's actually fitting on the intermediate tyres, getting a wing change as well in there, as Confessor's also come into the pit lane, also getting a wing change on that Alfa Romeo. Confessor's gone onto the mediums. Kurax is going to try the intermediate tyres, which is certainly interesting. He thinks it's wet enough and he's sliding out the pit lane, so he might have got that one a little bit wrong, but the rain doesn't look like it's drying up, so why not? He's in 19th, why not go for a gamble?
You never know. I like drivers that like to go for gambles, to be honest, and it pays off for them. Some of them, hopefully, fingers crossed. But, you know, if you don't take gambles, then you're not really a racer. And let's just see if Kurax could do that. And those are the only two that pit. We'll be interested to see how Confessor does as well. Meanwhile, Big C has jumped a few positions. Lakita has also lost a few positions as well. That promotes Will up into P12. And he's chasing Pablo for P11. He's not that far behind at the moment. And Pablo is chasing down Big C too. So they're starting to come into their own here just before the pit stops. I mean, these guys definitely want to be ahead of their rivals before they go on to a fresh set of the medium compounded tyres.
Well, I have to say I'm quite impressed with how Will's performing. Of course, this time last week he was racing in the F3 pre-season race, and he got promoted after he absolutely dominated that one. So he's doing really well out here today, running in 12th position, no points, of course, for 12th. So he's going to want to jump Big C and Pablo, who are just up the road from him.
Yeah, as we've got the two Renaults fighting for 13th place, and Lakita just about holds on there. They're doing like a Ricardo versus Ocon moment. And speaking of which, Ricardo's car's in front, which is Lakita, and Faz is Ocon's car, is down in 14th place. So I'm guessing they may have played a little bit of team orders there. Joking, I don't think they would. They're allowed to let them race, of course. It's the first race of the season, for goodness sake. But speaking about teammates as well, I wonder if these guys have found some communication techniques at the start of this race, because this is going to be crucial. If you're a Renault fan, you don't want to be seeing people collide into each other, but Faz doesn't do that. He gets to move into turn one, and he gets past Lakita, but surely Lakita wants to get past Faz really quickly, because they are pretty much matched on pace at this stage. But we can also see a battle emerging up front between Pablo and Big C. And Midnight and CC Brain as well. Oh, Lakita almost lost it again. Let's go back on board with Kurax, actually, to see if he's doing well in these wet conditions. He's not doing too bad, but we're just going to go on board for a second and see how he does going into turn 3, because that is a really heavy braking zone. Actually, that's not too bad. I think it doesn't matter what tyre you go on. I think you're going to have much difference, really, except the softs gain you more time. So, to be honest, most of these guys will be seeing Kurax on the inters, maybe not struggling, but we'll see how much time he's gained or lost. Meanwhile, Hadler is in the pit lane. That pushes Pat up a place, up into 9th place. Let's see what Hadler goes on to. Is he going to respond to Kurax? We'll have to find out. He wants to go on the inters as well.
Well, Benny might have dropped the ball here, because he's coming in at the exact same time as his Haas teammate, and he's actually going to get held in the pits ever so slightly. They haven't got the tyres ready for him, so Benny's going to be struggling there. Meanwhile, Pablo Jogler gets up into 9th position, moving ahead of the league director through turn number 3. He actually didn't have to sacrifice all that much ERS. Connor's actually got less ERS than Pablo does.
Yeah, I'm noticing that actually, but luckily in these conditions, they won't be using as much ERS if they were in much drier conditions. So it's going to be a lot easier to use your overtake button. We do have a yellow flag. That is a McLaren. That's Luke. Luke again spinning in turn 7. He almost hit his teammate and others in the process. Luckily he was ghosted, because otherwise he would have caused so many trouble. Let's see if he's got damage though. Well, he got away with that, but his tyres are not going to be in best shape. So if I was him, I would go into the pits, and that is exactly what he's going to do. And he'll probably do the same and jump onto those intermediate tyres as he goes into the pit lane.
Well, Confessor leaving the session. I don't know if that's lag or anything, but he's still running on the track as gaps are beginning to form between drivers. We've got Will trying to catch up to Big C. Is he going to lunge it? He had a half look there, and just letting Big C know that he was there. A little bit of a love tap through the apex as well. He's almost spinning it on exit. Here comes Faz now on Will out of nowhere as Faz moves up into 10th position after he struggled early on in the race after getting disqualified on the formation lap, falling to 20th. He's really proving himself to be a top contender for points in this race.
Yeah, he is. Obviously, Faz was a bit of an unknown in F3 last season, and Faz finished quite well in the pre-season race. 4th place,
Lakita's
1 place on
gone.
the podium. Lakita spun. So his teammate not having the best time, Faz having a good time, but obviously pre-season points didn't count. In this race, points do count. So he's going to hope everybody else in front of him has a bad race. And Big C is in the pits. It's gonna be the first pit crew waiting. So obviously Mercedes are first there, but he's probably going to get held up by some people. He too goes on the intermediate tyres. And I think everyone's going to go on the inters. So Odems has probably made a big mistake.
Well, someone else making a big mistake is Luke. He went onto the hard tyres even when he pitted just a lap ago. So again, he's dropped the ball on that one. He's going to move ahead of Lakita, but he's lost out a load, and he's going to be struggling on these tyres because, well, he's been jumped by Curax, who had damage, and he had to get a wing change. Actually, he did spin himself. I don't know if Luke, if he got a wing change in that one, but Curax really made the most of pitting early onto the intermediate tyres. He's now caught up to Will and Big C, who are fighting for points. And here goes Will on the inside at turn 4 on Big C, so another position gained for the reserve driver.
Yeah, indeed. Well done to Will. That is impressive. But yeah, I've got to mention about Curax in a second, actually, because Curax was the first person to jump the gun. It was at a conditions where any tyre could be the best tyre. And I think that's what triggered the gun for the other drivers, well, majority of the other drivers, to go onto the intermediate tyres. Pat is on the hard compounded tyres, so he's doing the same as Luke. I wonder if he's meant to do that, but maybe he's seeing things that we are not seeing here in Austria. Gonanen has also seen the same thing as Pat, but he's onto the medium compounded tyres. But I've noticed around here, the mediums are a lot faster, as Midnight is already starting to close in onto liquid blocks on the softs, and we're seeing Big C catching up to Will even now on the same tyre. But, you know, to be honest, you've got to make do with whatever tyre you got, really. It's not bad if you go on any tyre, but the Inters are just a little bit better, I think.
Well, of course, we could be seeing the rain easing up later on in the race, so that could be maybe a bit of a preempted move from Pat. If he could just manage those hard tyres, he won't have to pit again. But of course, that is all depending on the fact as to when the rain stops and if it's going to stop. Because if it doesn't stop, he's really shot himself in the foot, as Greeny and Skeven both come into the pits now. What tyres are they going to fit on? Oh, Greeny's on the medium tyres. So I think the rain might be easing up and it might be manageable to run slick tyres to go to the end of the Grand Prix. Skeven's also on the slicks.
Yeah, that is a bit more mixed strategy than I thought. So I'm seeing the guys near the bottom, apart from a few on the inters, everybody else on the dries. So we've got mixture strategies, and I wonder, are we going to see the winner come down to strategy? And we can see Greeny and LFC already faster than Hadler, so maybe the rain is starting to ease off a little bit. Maybe it is the wrong decision to go onto the inters. Maybe I've shot it myself in the foot. But to be honest, you've got to make your tyre, whatever the tyre you're going on. And it does depend if you're good at any conditions in the dry like this, like mixed rain and a dry track, obviously. But it's still dry. You can see the track is still dry with a few damp patches here and there. So you've got to find the dry line, really. So it may be a mixed bag coming into this next part. But that's why some of these guys at the top are just waiting for the very last opportunity, because maybe they haven't decided yet What does Toxic Tomato do? He goes on the intermediates. And we've got Pablo in the McLaren into the pits as well. I wonder what tyres the McLaren crew have got for him. Let's just see. That is intermediate as well. My, oh my, I don't know which strategy is the best now. I thought it was the Inters, Dan, but now I don't have a clue.
Oh, but I've actually never seen anything quite like this. As Will continues to set fastest laps, that could hint that the intermediates are the quicker tyre for the time being. We've still got 21 laps of this race left. Well, we're coming up to 20 to go, so it's far from over at this point in the Grand Prix. We've just got to wait and see. Rafa's probably going to have to come to the pit soon, as is CC Brain and Faz, the only drivers who haven't pitted yet. Rafa is going to come into the pit lane right now, so the Williams are going to be rushing out to the pit box. We'll see what tyres he fits.
Yeah, I think he's probably going to follow the exact same call as his teammates. I know that they work together quite a lot, and I think they were very glad to be teammates. Rafa got first pick, along with his teammate Toxic Tomato of what car as well, and teammate. So they're going to be the one that's going to help each other the most. And so, not really a surprise, Rafa does the same thing as Toxic, and he goes on to the intermediate tyres. Faz, the only driver still yet to make a pit stop, stays on the soft tyres. CC Brain also pits onto the intermediate conditions. Skivan, I think Skivan's changing his mind, or he might have got damage. We'll have to find out as he goes into the AlphaTauri pit box, and let's see if it's a Inters.
Yeah.
So I still don't know, but I think we could see the dries going again, but they may be seeing that things that we're not seeing. Maybe it may dry up towards the end, or there may be more damp parts of the track. We'll just have to find out. But I think Faz could be in puncher territory at the moment. I'm guessing he's still not sure, but he may be seeing his rivals in front of him going on to a intermediate tyre. That may be the tyre that he can go on to as well, but at least he'll be on fresher tyres as well going towards the end. And the Inters last exactly the same as the mediums, I believe, so it's going to be roughly the same stop. But some of these guys might have to make two stops. We'll have to wait and see. There we go. That's proof of the pudding. The Inters are faster. 1:12.3 for Toxic Tomato at this stage. So I think Faz just saw that fastest lap, and that's probably made that decision for him.
Well, the last of the drivers to come into the pit lane, we'll see where he comes out shortly. I'm watching CC Brain and Greeny LFC, as Greeny's not going to make that difficult for his teammate. They're on a split strategy right now. One is on the medium tyres, the other's on the intermediates. I was watching them throughout the maybe past half lap or so, and the difference in confidence that these drivers had. CC Brain was so much later on the brakes than Greeny, and so much earlier on the traction, so it is definitely the right call to go on to the intermediates. Maybe Greeny's trying to stick this one out and see if the track does dry up. I do see a little bit of blue sky just peeking through the clouds, but it doesn't look like it's going to come anytime soon.
I've noticed that the rain is getting lighter. I'm seeing on some parts of the track, whereas on other parts of the track it's still roughly the same. So maybe that's why some of the guys opted to stay on the dries. Greeny's still sticking to it. Is Greeny going to go into the pits? Oh, he almost did. He almost committed to the pit lane, but he didn't. So he's the one. Well, it's not CC Brain, it's Greeny, sorry. Greeny's sticking to the medium strategy, whereas CC, I thought the Ferraris will go the same strategy, but I'm guessing they're doing what they do in real life, where one person is doing completely the opposite. Like Charles Leclerc managed to do a one-stop strategy in Britain yesterday, which was insane, and he still managed fourth place. So, you know, maybe Greeny's hoping that it does dry up just a little bit more. We'll have to wait and see, of course, as we're already halfway into this Grand Prix. 18 laps to go. The gap now has increased between Rafa and Toxic Tomato, 5.3 seconds. Unless Toxic has a moment, or a bottle moment, Toxic has this one in the bag.
Well, he's certainly controlling the race, having such a large buffer to second position. He can afford to get a penalty at this point. I'm not too sure what their penalty situation is down at Williams, but I'd assume it's pretty good considering the way that he's been driving. And We move on to lap number 20 now. The race is still far from over. We could still see a mistake from Toxic Tomato like he made in Australia. And he's actually lost a little bit of time through turn number 1, about maybe 3 or so tenths, two tenths back to Rafa. So he's already shown a couple of mistakes, but I doubt it's going to be enough to make him lose the position.
Fair play to Will Murdoch in 7th place. He started 12th, he started way down the field, and he's in the points in at P7. It shows how deserving he is to be reserved in F2, of course. Oh, DRS disabled. So if I was on the medium or hard tyres, I'll be thinking, uh-oh, I have bottled it. And Kurax is on the softs. I don't think he was meant to be on the softs. Maybe he might have it ready for later. That might give us a clue of what the weather's going to be like later on in the race. But Greeny, Greeny, I think, saw that message and he's like, oh God, I need to pit, don't I? He's going to lose so much time, and the points that Ferrari have are going to just come down and down and down. And that's going to help other teams like Mercedes and potentially McLaren as well climb their way up as well. Greeny stays out though. I thought he was going to go into the pits. I thought that would be the call for him to go to pits, but obviously not. Odems has left the session still. So I'm guessing his AI would either put him on the inters or do something else. We'll have to wait and see. Maybe Kurat shams off in the foot. It is impossible to tell, but, you know, they may be doing fine on those tyres, so there's no point for them to stay, to go in. Otherwise, they're going to lose a chunk of time.
Well, I'm watching Will right now trying to get past another driver in Greeny LFC. One of the only drivers, one of 3, to be on the slick tyres. And Will, he's using up a lot of DRS. He really wants to get by here, even though there's so much time. Oh, 3-second time penalty coming out for Toxic Tomato there. But Will getting a bit of a squeeze, trying to maybe go around the outside at turn number 5. He's going to make the move, and he tried sending it. He's got the power on the exit there. They're side by side coming through turn 6, and he actually gets a little bit forced off the track. He's still trying to hold it on in there, and he got a penalty from that.
Yeah, I've got to say, if Will wants to try and get a move in turn 6, 5 into 6, then he does it. He did it so many laps ago, and he made it work. So he's the one who's going to take risk. And Greeny, I think, has been caught napping, and Will's going to say, thank you very much, but that position is mine. And he's going to get P6 into turn 1, and he does. Fantastic job from the AlphaTauri driver. Will is gaining right now on Greeny, but you can see Greeny's starting to lose a bit of tyre wear, and Urs as well. Luke getting another penalty at this moment in time. Let's see if Greeny can have the edge on Will going into turn 3. Obviously no DRS, that's going to be the important factor, and Will's starting to pull away. So if I was Greeny right now, you've got to be thinking on your feet here. You're seeing people on the inter so much faster than you. Pablo's going to possibly try and go for the move potentially into turn 4, but he could not quite make it work. You can see Pablo is getting close to Greeny. He knows Greeny is struggling. Pablo could see his chance, and Pablo does it. That's fantastic move from him into turn 5, and Greeny drops down to 8th place, and Big C's catching.
Tell you what, that was a really daring move there, and Hadler's coming into the pit lane. He was one of the drivers to pit early onto the intermediate tyres, so they're not going to last towards the end. But I'll tell you what, that was a very ballsy move from Pablo there, and now Greeny's going to have more problems in the name of Big C.
Yeah, that's going to be a danger actually as well. As Hadler's going into the pit, I'm guessing he's changing another set of the intermediate tyres, and someone was asking the gap from Greeny to the lead, and I just got it up just for a little bit, so you have a little bit of an idea. The gap is 24 seconds, so he's going to lose quite a bit if he does pit now, and if other people catch up to him, of course. But here comes Big C. Big C struggling a little bit there to get his tyres in check. That's why Greeny, I think, has gained quite a bit of time on that. He's actually lost a bit of time into turn 4. Is Big C going to go for a ballsy move into turn 5, just like we've seen Will and Pablo do? Nope, he is not. He is not that risky at this stage. But I wonder if Big C knows about Greeny struggling. He's so close by 1/10 of a second. And there's one person that we also got to consider as well. Name Changer as well. Name Changer's going to go and try for the send, but Big C almost making a mistake there. Name Changer.
Oh my gosh.
That was fantastic from him as they go into turn 9 as Big C goes into the pits. Why is he going to the pits? I think maybe these inters are not lasting as long as I would have thought. Is he going on another set of inters now? Yes, he is. So correct me that I thought it lasts longer than the inters. I don't think it does. Or maybe they want to try and get some fastest lap points. But here comes Name Changer once again on Greeny into turn 3.
This might have been Greeny's strategy. He knows that he's messed up on the tyres. He could have gone on to intermediates. Here comes Name Changer towards the outside of turn number 4, but he can't get the move off there. Coming into the braking zone, he's going to maybe try around the outside as Faz is there as well. But as I was saying, Greeny, I think, waiting for all these other drivers' intermediate tyres to die out and then pit onto a set of intermediates himself. So it wasn't worth pitting early on to go onto the inters because he knows they wouldn't last and he'd have to make another pit stop.
Yeah, I think for Big C, he's done the right thing there because obviously we don't want to see what we've seen in the first race in Britain where we had puncture galore really. And Austria is one of those tracks where we could see that. We know it's wet, but it could still be hot track temperature-wise around here, but it is slightly cooler than what we see in the much clearer conditions. And I think Name Changer just wants to cover off Big C really as he goes into the pits for another set of inters. I wonder what the top 6 are going to be doing. Obviously Pablo pitted quite later, as well as CC Brain, Rafa and Toxic Tomatoes, so they'll have probably the overcut most likely. And Faz once again gets past Greeny, so that's another position lost for him. What a shame. Right now, he's probably thinking, oh my god, I should not have gone onto the mediums. But it was hard to tell early on in the race. A lot of people on mixed strategies. Even Skivan decided that enough was enough on the hard tyres. So he went on to the slick, to the intermediate conditions tyres. As Greeny is, Greeny was struggling to turn 4 there. And there goes another place as Hadler goes past him as well. As Midnight goes into the pits for his second stop.
I'd imagine we're going to see Will come in as well, and I definitely think around that lap 10 and 11 mark, that's when the intermediate tyres begin to die out and you're probably getting into the puncture range at that point. So they're just coming into the pit lane, fitting on a new fresh set, and Greeny has been overtaken by, and there he goes coming into the pit lane. He's got 11 laps left in this race, so that is about the lifespan of the intermediate tyre, and we are definitely going to see the top 5 all coming out at one point as Midnight comes out ahead of Hadler, who pitted a little bit earlier than him.
Yeah, obviously Midnight is pitted later than his teammate Big C, of course, but he's trying to cover off his teammate, which is fair play. Greeny has dropped it all the way down into 16th place. That is a danger by staying on those slick tyres for longer than intended. Kurat is going to have the same opportunity, as that was a bit late from Kurat, I've got to say, but this time Greeny is going to show why pitting on the inters is the right idea. Kurat's tyres must be absolutely dying right now. Greeny was on the mediums before he pitted, but Kurat has been on the softs for quite a bit, and I've got to say, Kurat's still doing a pretty good job trying to defend there, but he's just losing so much time. Already lost a second to Greeny at LFC, but I'm guessing he's just waiting for the time to pit so he doesn't have to pit again on those inters. I mean, obviously he's seen the lifespan of everybody else's inters, so that's why he's waiting for the perfect moment. Skivan into the pits as well for his second stop. We're seeing what happened yesterday. We are seeing a 2-stop strategy. Who would have thought it?
This is actually Skivan's 3rd stop of the race, if I'm not mistaken.
Let me check. Yeah, no. Yes.
So, wow.
Yeah, so did he? Oh, I can't remember. I can't remember what tyres he went on. Because he went on the hards. So he went. He did. I think he did soft hards, and then he went on the inters again, and then on another set of inters. That's probably why. If he didn't go on the hards, he probably would have had to put earlier anyway. As our race leader, Toxic Tomato, is going into the pit lane earlier than Rafa. He's going to have advantage being the last car in the pit lane and not getting held up. He's going to be on fresher tyres compared to most majority of people except for Pablo and Rafa, of course, and Faz, who's staying out as well. Where is Toxic Tomato going to be ahead of his rival? And look at that. He's ahead of Rafa. I think Rafa, did they double stack? Yeah, they did double stack. So Rafa appeared the same time as Toxic Tomato, but they had the advantage. So obviously Toxic was way ahead, Rafa was way behind, so they could double stack and pit on the same lap. That is good teamwork and good accuracy from the Williams pairing. They still remain P1 and P2.
Well, I assume that Pablo Joggler is going to come to the pit lane very shortly. That's going to unleash at Midnight into P3, and Faz also is going to have to come into the pit. So it's going to be a fight between Midnight and Hadler as Pat and Will running close to each other, coming through turn number 3. Pat's definitely going to have to come to the pits this lap. You'd think that at the end of this run, the tyres will be absolutely knackered as they're coming up to lap Confessor once again, who is a lap down from everyone on track.
Odem's bot. He's the Odem's bot. I think he's still left the session, which is a bit of a shame, but I don't think he can come back. But you're not allowed to join back actually. Once you're disconnected, that's it, because there's still a glitch in the game where if you do rejoin the session, you don't get any penalties. But speaking of moves, here comes Will once again on a Pat just before turn 9, heading into turn 10. Oh my goodness, that's crazy from Will. He did it before turn 10 actually, and that is another position gained for Will Murdoch himself. He's showing why he was F2 champion 3 seasons ago actually, which was incredible, and he's gonna get some points on his debut. It won't count towards obviously the championship because he is not a part of a full-time team, but if he does ever become full-time, I'm guessing his points will count, so I'm guessing he's just waiting for that moment very, very soon. Pablo surprisingly still not pitting. He's going to lose time to Midnight if he's not careful as well. This is a game changer, literally, at this stage. And I think everyone's on the intermediates now as Kurat's pitted not that too long ago, I think a lap ago. So I think he realised that the softs were just not the right tyres to be on at the moment. So everyone is entered until the end except Pablo and Pat and Little Blocks, who's still yet to make one more stop, and Luke too.
Faz also coming into the pit lane right now, taking off those worn intermediate tyres. He's made up a lot of positions, but unfortunately he's going to lose them once he takes off those tyres, losing the time in the pit lane. So we'll see where he comes out with another position gained for Will, and on his he was F3 this time last week, and now he's come into F2, and he's made up 11 positions in this race. And once Pablo comes into the pits, it's going to be 12. So he's really outdone himself on this race. He's done so well. I do have to hand it to Will Murdoch.
Yeah, he is in this tier for a reason, and I'm very, very proud of him. Obviously, he's one of the contenders for driver of the day. Surely, when obviously we choose our driver of the day at the end of this race, I've got to say, without a shadow of a doubt as well. And Pablo doing fantastic already with his moves as well. It'll be interesting to see where he ends up after pit stops. Will he be in the points still? And Pablo, speaking of pit stops, no, he's not going into the pits. Wow. He stays out. So is he taking the gamble of doing the one stop? Is he doing a Charles Leclerc from yesterday? Because it looks like he is, but there is a danger that the tyres could run out. So if I was him, he's probably had a setup that's geared to the tyres, but he's probably losing so much time. Midnight's already caught up to him, so I think that may be the sign for him to piss. There's someone gone off. That is a Renault, and that's a Keto.
Well, he's spun around, unfortunately, that's for the second time today. And this is a race to forget for him. But what I think Pablo's philosophy is right now, I'm either in the I think Lickle's way off the track there. He's lost a bit of his wing. As I was saying about Pablo, I'm either on the podium or I've got a puncture.
Yeah, and what? Lickle Blotz has got a 10-second time penalty. I'm guessing you'll get that removed as Luke is going for his final stop as well. But yeah, Pablo, I think if I was him, he'll probably still get points anyway as Midnight gets past him. Wow, That was very brave for Midnight. He's in a podium position right now as we've got our first retirement, well, technically our second retirement, as Confessor left the session, but that is both of the Alphas out of the race. 0 points for them. That is not what you want, and I think the Alpha and Romeo team are going to have words at the end of this session saying what could have been. Then where did it, did he retire from the pit lane? Yes, he did retire from the pit lane, so that's the right thing to do, of course. But meanwhile, Big C has got past Name Changer and Pat. Pat's dropped by a lot. Oh, he spun.
Puncture. I think he's got a puncture.
Oh, yeah, does he?
On the right rear.
Oh, yeah, he does. So that shows it only lasts for about 14 laps and then your tyres go bust. Let's see what Pablo's tyres are looking, because if I was Pablo, I'll be very worried right now. Oh, he's got a punch. Surely he's got a puncture as well. Has he? I don't even know. Actually, no, he's not. I think he's just struggling on those tyres right now. But, you know, that he's already got Hadler and CC Brain behind him. This is going to turn to something similar to what we've seen with Greeny as well, with what Greeny happened earlier. But if his train carries on, and if Pablo spins it, he may collect the likes of Hadler and CC Brain out, and that would have not been good at all. Hadler could get Haas's best result in a while. Hadler's running well in 5th place. He's been under the radar, but he's getting the job done. Of course, another yellow flag. That is another Haas driver, and I think that was Benny, I'm not entirely sure. As Greeny LFC gets another penalty. Here comes Hadler on Pablo, but he's not going to get the job done yet. I think let's check on ERS. Pablo's got more ERS. If he makes it through to the end on those tyres, that will be amazing, but it's going to be a tough call, of course, because he has to defend not one, but 2 cars.
I can't see Pablo getting to the end of these tyres. If you think about Pat getting a puncture on 15 laps, or 14 laps even, he's not going to make it 4 more, roughly, 3 more actually. So you'd have to think he's going to get a puncture. You can even see how he's just tiptoeing around the track. He's holding up CC Brain, and Hadler for that matter. So he's so close to a puncture, and he's not going to get the podium. He's already lost 4 seconds in the space of about a lap to Midnight. And there's yellow flags in the final sector. I don't know who that's for. It's for Pat coming into the pit lane. He's lost his front wing.
Ooh, that's not good.
Oh, Skeeven's gone.
Skeeven's gone too. So much happening in the final few laps, ladies and gentlemen. And Gonanen could be in punch territory as well. But I think he will just about be fine, Gonanen, right now. But he's still catching up to Skeeven. Skeeven, I think, has probably got a bit of damage as well. I'm not sure. It may be just minor though, so that's why he's staying out. But Haswell's going to help Gonanen get through these final few laps. But here comes Hadler on a Pablo into turn 4. Pat is out of the session. It's going to be late though for a safety car. He has retired from the pits though. Pablo is losing it right now. Oh, that was close. I think Hadler knows that Pablo is in. Actually, he may not know about his tyres right now. He may be frankly asking Jeff for his information. Has he got one?
He's got a puncture. Front right. That tire's gone.
Was it same as someone else who had a puncture as well earlier on in the race? I mean, that was a gamble that definitely did not pay off, and he's staying out. If he went into the pits, he would have got points still. He's just lost a chance of getting his first point in F2. That is a shame for him. I mean, unfortunately did not work out. Fair play that he still managed to get through 17 laps on those intermediate tyres. But I think these guys now know if you used to still race in Austria and on intermediate conditions, don't make it last 18 laps, that's for sure, even 14 or 15 laps. Meanwhile, Will gets past Pablo now. Will's up into 6th place. Don't forget, we still don't know how many penalties these guys got. Will could jump up a few places. We'll have to wait and see. I know Toxic has got a penalty. Can you check if Rafa's got one?
I will do that just right now. And do you want me to say, or do you want me to leave it as a surprise?
Leave it a surprise, go on. Because we left it a surprise last time, and then someone else who I was not expecting to get a podium got a podium. So, yeah, we'll have to find out. So on the final lap, as Pablo is, he's struggling, isn't he? Oh, That's almost an unsafe rejoin. I think he's playing tactics here. I think he's just waiting for the likes of Rafa and Toxic Tamara to get past him, so he doesn't have to do another lap. But he's already out of the points, so that's not good. That pushes Benny up to 11. Greeny gets a point still, even though after making a wrong strategy call as well. The yellow flags are for Pablo, but we do see another yellow flag in set to 1. There's yellow flags everywhere, but it's all going to come down potentially to penalties on who's going to win this race. Is Toxic going to get his first win of the season, or is Rafa going to go 2 for 2, but this time get the first 16 points of the season? We'll have to find out. Let's see. Some of the race wins in the tiers were decided on penalties. We could see that today. Toxic comes across the line on track to take the win here in Austria. Has Rafa done enough to take the win? Yes, he does. Toxic has 3/100ths of a second separate between Toxic and Rafa. Rafa was clean as a whistle. Toxic getting 3 seconds of time penalties. That is what helped Rafa today. Rafa is in the lead of the championship. Midnight gets his first podium in F2, which is amazing to him. What a good job from him. Hadler, a fantastic result from him as well. That he started, I think, 10th place, and he's all the way up to 4th. CC Brain only lost 1 position. I've got to say, driver of the day for me, Will, but he's got so many penalties that pushes him down to 8th. Big C, that means Big C's up into 6th. Baz in 7th. Name changer in 9th, and Greeny gets the final point unless Greeny has too many penalties. Nope, he does not, but Benny gets dropped down because Skiven has less penalties, and wow. Lakitu's out of the race on the line. Well, that's interesting. I'm sure it'll be classified, though, because he completed more than 90% of the race, but I think that's something that the stewards will probably be looking into. But yeah, driver of the day on the screen has got says Will. I think I have to agree on the game. I think driver of the day's got to be Will.
Well, normally I would agree with you, but of course I'm going to have to go with someone different. So
that's fine.
I think it's going to have to be Hadler for me, moving up into 4th position, almost getting the podium. He was actually not too far back from Midnight, just 4 seconds back. So good job from the Haas driver. And I also do have to hand it to Name Changer, coming from 17th all the way up to 9th, and then Faz as well, making up 7 positions, getting a solid 6 points for Renault.
A lot more people having no penalties than I thought, so well done to these guys. So the ones who get the Clean X award are Rafa, Hadler, CC Brain, Big C, and Faz. Is there anyone down the order that has not got a penalty either? That's Gonanen. And I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. So well done to these guys. Let's run through your order quickly before you can watch the other 2 tiers. Rafa, Toxic, Midnight, Hadler, CC Brain, and it's Big C, Faz, Will, Name Changer, Greeny LFC, Skivan, and then it's Benny, Skim, Gonanen, Lakitu, Pablo, Luke, Kurax, and then your non-finishers were Confessor, Pat, and Lickle Blocks. That was a great race to start the F2 season, that's for sure.
Oh, I have to agree with you there. That was certainly setting the tone for the rest of the season. These guys want that £30 reward provided by our partners, BDG. They're going to want to fight with all their might to get that one.
Yeah, I've got to say, and it couldn't have gone perfect for the Williams guys. 1 and 2, they're on maximum points already in the Constructors' Championship as well. So they'll be leading it going into round 2, which I can't remember what round it is. I need to actually check the calendar if I can get it up. It is Hungary next week, which is Monaco without the Wolves. So that should be interesting to see how that's going to turn out next week. But do not go anywhere, guys. Make sure you tune into the PSGL channel. Because we've got F1 and F3 happening right now. They're just about almost to the end of their qualifying session. F1's commentated by Owen Wyatt and Austin, and then we've got F3 commentated by Luke Etheridge and Sam. So thank you guys so much for watching. Thanks to Dan for joining me in the commentary box once again.
Absolutely, it was a pleasure being here tonight.
And we will see you next week, same time at 7 p.m. for the Hungarian Grand Prix. Have a good evening and enjoy F1 and F3. Goodbye.